Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mark, the online minister, here to talk about healthy eating. A lot of people believe that you can eat whatever you want, say a prayer over it, and God will bless that food, and anything that you want to eat is okay. The Bible doesn't say that. The 11th chapter of Leviticus tells about clean and unclean meats. But before meats came in, the original diet in Genesis 1:29 is fruits, nuts, vegetables, and grains. You don't need extra protein. You don't need to be eating flesh foods. But if you insist on eating those things, there are clean and unclean meats. I'm going to briefly cover it. I'm not going to read every word of it. I want you to study this on your own. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying to them, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, These are the animals which you may eat among the animals that are on the earth. Among the animals, whatever divides the hoof, having cloven hooves and chewing the cud, that you may eat. Nevertheless, you shall not eat among those that chew the cud, or those that have cloven hooves. The camel, because it chews the cud but does not have cloven hooves, is unclean to you. And the rabbit, and the swine, the pig, though it divides the hoof, having cloven hooves, yet does not chew the cud, it is unclean to you. Their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcasses you shall not touch. They are unclean to you. And you could eat all that's in the water that has fins and scales. So that's going to eliminate catfish, lobsters, crabs, crayfish, all kinds of all the scavengers. That's basically, 11th chapter of Leviticus is telling us to avoid scavengers. And it talks about the birds that you can eat. Eagles you can't eat, vultures, buzzards, and that's because they are scavengers. And it goes into the flying insects. A lot of people would never eat an insect, but there are some civilizations that do. The only kind that you can eat is the locust. That was pretty much it. And the other ones are unclean. Now, in Genesis 1:29, it talked about fruits, nuts, vegetables, and grains. Whatever you eat or drink, whatever you do, do for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. Paul also said, Do you know that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, and you have from God? So you're not your own, you're bought with a price. So honor your God in your body, and your spirit, which are God's. 1 Corinthians 6:19. If any man defiles the temple of God, him God shall destroy, for the temple of God is holy, which is what you are. 1 Corinthians 3:16. God also promised that if you don't eat like the Egyptians, that you won't get the diseases of the Egyptians. Now, what did the Egyptians do? They ate out of flesh pots. They had these pots made with animal flesh that were in the streets, and people would pay and just eat it right out of there. Again, God's making that same promise today. If you don't eat the way the world outside eats, you won't get the diseases that they get. What diseases are they getting? Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity. All these are from the diet. Pork contains a microscopic worm called trichina. If it gets into the system, the disease trichinosis results. Governments warn there is no inspection for this parasite, and Reader's Digest article stresses that there's no cure for the disease. I don't agree with that. I think God can cure any disease. Must our pork remain unsafe? Statements made about trichinosis. A single defective pork, even a mouthful, can kill or cripple or condemn the victim to a lifetime of aches and pains. For this unique disease, trichinosis, there is no cure. No drugs to stop the worms that may spread through the entire muscular tissues of the human system. One of two things can then happen, depending on the intensity of the infection. Either death ensues as a successful effort is made by nature. Your body throws a cyst, an enclosure around the parasites, and they become dormant, although they may remain alive for years. Now, the best the doctor can do is try to conserve the patient's strength and relieve the painful symptoms as they appear. Dr. Samuel Gold, a Washington health official, made an extensive study of trichinosis that the average American consumer eats at least 200 infected pork meals during his lifetime. You'd have to put every bit of pork underneath the microscope to see if it has trichinosis or not. Pigs, along with buzzards, snakes, hyenas, are the great scavengers of the earth's filth and refuse. Now, Prevention Magazine talked about shellfish are dirty and dangerous. The author appears reluctant to take a stand, but he was committed to telling the truth on this sensitive issue. He wrote, "They're succulent, they're delicious, they're even nutritious. But because of the nature of the mollusk and the sewage-like pollution of its habitat, we must in good conscience advise you to avoid shellfish, no matter how they tempt you, even though those around you seem to be swallowing them with delight. The day of reckoning cometh." Why are shellfish so dangerous? Because they are many times more polluted than the filthy waters they inhabit. Oysters, for instance, because of their obtaining and absorbing food, they have been found to concentrate the polio virus 20 to 60 times the level of the surrounding seawater. No other animal offered on the menu of your favorite eating place would be served to you along with its feces. Yet, this is the case with seafood. It is served whole, complete with the intestinal tract. Now, a lot of people are probably listening to this and saying, I'm going to keep on eating it and ask God to bless it and everything's going to be fine. Well, you can't go doing things contrary to God's will and expect Him to bless what you're doing. Unhealthy foods are designed to be addicting. And there has to be a decision to stop, a willingness to give up physical pleasure associated with the habit. Ask God to give you strength to overcome these habits. Let's get back to the simple vegan diet. Let's put aside all these animals and stop eating them, and we will not have the diseases of the rest of the world. Thank you, and God bless.